We have injury updates for the Chicago Bears as they release their first injury report. We also have some questions around Lamar Jackson's status for the game on Sunday as well. We're going to take a look at some of the keys for the Chicago Bears offense to have a big game. And Ben Johnson calls out Theo Benedet, maybe a little bit. We got all that plus more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And listen, Ben Johnson is one to not mix words, right? He is a very honest person, and not only how he calls himself out, but also holds the players on this team accountable to the standard that he wants them to play at. And one thing that Ben Johnson isn't going to do is overlook some things just because, some things may improved in one area. And while the Bears' offensive line has undoubtedly improved this season over what it did last season as far as protecting Caleb Williams, they also have improved over the last 2 weeks in a run blocking as well, which is really good. But when asked about Theo Benedet and his performance, Ben Johnson said this: it's inconsistent to say the least. He had a couple of false starts mixed in there. Run game-wise, he did good things in terms of moving guys, but probably wasn't as clean as it could be. And then in pass pro, I think Chase Young got after him just a little bit more than he had liked as well. And so when Ben Johnson was also asked about the footing that Theo Benedet has, and it seems like right now that he's issuing challenges for Theo Benedet to get better. He says this: we need all of our guys to perform at a high level for us to move the ball, score points on offense, win games as a team, and so the evaluation process always goes on. If there's someone that's not pulling his weight, then we got a decision to make there. But no, I think he's going to continue to get better with more reps that he gets, and that wasn't a slouch that he was going against yesterday on most of those snaps, and I think he's going to continue to get better. So while he is saying that Theo has been inconsistent in some areas, which I think if you objectively look at it, yeah, that's true, right? And even with his inconsistencies, he's still been better than Braxton Jones, right? And so Ben is not going to just rest on laurels. He's just not going to do that. He is going to always challenge his players and want his players to get better. That's just who Ben Johnson is as a head coach. That's who he is as a leader. But he holds himself accountable to that same thing. That is why the culture is changing here in Chicago, is because of not only the way that he does hold the players accountable to how he wants them to play, but how he holds himself accountable to how he coaches them and schemes for them as well. And all those things are going to work out and hopefully in the Bears' favor in the long run. And that's just what it's going to have to take to get to this team of being at a place where they can win consistent football games. And that's what all this is about, is getting to a place of winning consistent football games. So, Theo is a player with a lot of promise. And I want to be clear there. Theo Benedet has a lot of promise and a lot of potential. And the fact that as an undrafted rookie, he's coming in here in his second year, technically his first year playing because he had an injury last year, and already taking the starting role from a player that had been a 3-year starter. It is what it is there. And, we'll talk about the thing with Braxton as well, because there's going on some stuff from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN and Matt Bowen as well that do believe that Braxton Jones is one of the top potentially available trade candidates ahead of the November 4th deadline, which is, if somebody would tell you that Braxton is a top trade candidate, would you have believed that? And does that make you want to keep him at least as a depth piece? But they do say this: rival teams agree that Jones is a sensible trade candidate after his benching in favor of Theo Benedet. In his resume as a multi-year starter in Chicago, Jones is also in a contract year, and now he is healthy following an ankle injury that plagued him for 2025. So, we've talked a little bit about this before, right? And the mindset that I have is that if you do not see Braxton Jones as part of your long-term future, then if you can get anything back for that, you get that back. Rather than letting him walk for nothing in the offseason because you just don't re-sign him, if you can get anything, and there are going to be some pessimistic Bears fans, especially if he goes on and looks solid other places that talk about what the Bears get back or not. But if Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, Dan Rouchard, the offensive line coach, are looking at Braxton and saying, this is not a guy that is going to be in our future. It's just not. We'd rather roll with Ozzie and Darnell Wright and Theo Benedet and even Kieran Amagaje and see what we have there. Or we feel like, hey, before spending money on keeping Braxton Jones, we feel like we can get a more consistent piece in here to get that done with what we need on the offensive line. Then you owe that to get that done. So Theo Benedet's rise, if that has made Braxton Jones even more expendable, it is what it is, right? And so, and not to say that Braxton can't go on and play solid. Like I've said it before, Braxton isn't nearly as bad as what some people make him out to be. But he's not a player either that you look at and you're like, he's an unquestioned starter at left tackle, clearly, right? And I think with some teams, depending on the state of their offensive line, they may have a higher risk tolerance at dealing with some of the things that has plagued Braxton Jones in his time here in Chicago. And the Bears can take advantage of that and take advantage of a team and even get, I'd say, even a day 3 pick. Like, look at some of the players that are available out there for day 3 picks right now. If the Bears trade Braxton Jones, and then what they get back for Braxton Jones is what they use to go out and get a running back, what they use to go out and get a corner, what they use to go out and get whatever else, then you've basically kept your draft stock. You've now moved that to something else, and that's a long shot, right? Or maybe you use your own pick, and then you replenish one with that's going to be a little bit further back with Braxton, right? There's a lot of different areas that you can look at this in a lot of different scenarios, but, I'm not surprised to hear that Braxton could be somebody that's moved by the Chicago Bears. I just don't. I think the writing's on the wall there. He's not part of the future anymore. And if that happens, it is what it is. And you just got to deal with that. And that's part of the ebbs and flows of football. That's part of building out your football team. That's part of the grind and development of your football team. You have to figure those things out. And if, like I said, that core of Declan Doyle, Ben Johnson, Dan Rouchar, Ryan Poles have all sat down, evaluated the talent, evaluated what they think that they can do in the future, and they say, yeah, let's go ahead. We feel comfortable moving off of Braxton. So be it. And, and I'll just leave it at that. But let me know what you guys think down below on Braxton, on Ben Johnson's, criticism of Theo Benedet and how Theo Benedet can get better as that starting left tackle for the Chicago Bears, but also the from Jeremy Fowler and ESPN that Braxton could end up being moved. Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, of course, injury reports are updated all the time. And, Wednesday is kind of the one where you look at when that's released and there are going to be some veteran days on that, right? But the Bears had a number of players on Wednesday report that did not practice that if this does continue, it is definitely going to be concerning going into Sunday. So the players that did not practice on Wednesday, Roschon Johnson, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, Tyreek Stevenson, DeAndre Swift. And especially with DeAndre Swift having a groin injury, that can always be re-aggravated and turn into something a little bit worse. I'm not saying that I'm hugely concerned. Wednesday injury reports, I'm never hugely concerned about. When you get into Thursday, especially Friday, that's where I start being more concerned. But those guys are all important pieces of the Chicago Bears and what we're trying to do here, right? Except for Roschon. 2 carries so far for Roschon Johnson, both really solid carries, but, except for Roschon, but Cole, DJ Moore, Tyreek, DeAndre Swift, those are all pretty big guys. If we're going to end up missing those guys, that it's going to be hard to rebound from. So hopefully they're able to get back out there. They're able to play for the Chicago Bears. And this is just, again, taking a veteran day after the Bears had a short week and just dealing with it that way, and would hope that. Now, as far as players that were limited, Grady Jarrett, Braxton Jones, Cairo Santos, Deshaun Wright were all limited participants in practice on Wednesday. We'll see what that ends up meaning for those guys. And then as far as full participants, Amin was a full participant, as was Austin Booker. So there you go on that one. Solid injury report for the Chicago Bears. Like I said, a little concerning with so many starters, especially DeAndre Swift, after having his breakout games the last couple of games. You don't want to see him potentially miss a game, right? Because while I like Kyle Monangai, and I think Kyle Monangai's potential is through the roof, I want to be clear there. I believe a lot in who Kyle Monangai can turn into as a player. Want to be clear there. No ifs, ands, buts, questions about it. I believe in who Kyle Monangai can turn into. I don't know the caliber or level in that, but I do think that you look at Monangai and you see a player that could be a very productive running back as part of a running back core. The talk of him developing to a running back one and things like that, that's going to have to be told and proven over years. But, we'll see what happens there. But overall, like, if DeAndre Swift missed, it's going to be tough. If DJ Moore missed, we have depth at the wide receiver, but we've talked a lot about how DJ alleviates some of that pressure and what he does in the blocking game as well at times, right? So you need that. Cole Kmet, another, important piece for the Bears. So we'll see what happens in that one. But hopefully the Bears just continue moving closer and closer and closer to getting a healthy roster, and then we can see what's going on there. But the Ravens are dealing with their own major injury. Lamar Jackson, who has been some talk that he could return on Sunday against the Chicago Bears, or he could still sit, right? The Ravens are coming off their bye week, which they were hoping he was going to get healthy. Dan Garzanio said this, that the conversation that he's had with those close to the situation led him to believe that Jackson will miss his third straight game. That could certainly have something to do with the fact that the Ravens have 2 games in 5 days as they play on Thursday night in week 9. So we'll see. I mean, here's the thing. I'm somebody, and if you guys have been watching this show for a while, you know I'm not somebody that I'm like, yeah, oh my God, it just gets easier for the Bears. Because eventually those easier games stop, right? And you can't keep getting into luck. I want my team to face off against the best. I want my team to face off against teams that are healthy so that there's no questions about that, right? Because if the Bears beat the Ravens without Lamar Jackson, all that's going to do is, especially for the more pessimistic Bears fans, is they're going to say things like, oh, well, they had to do it without Lamar. I mean, yeah, the Bears got their 4th win in a row, but Lamar Jackson wasn't out there, right? And that's going to happen anyway. With him missing 3 weeks, they're going to say, oh, well, Lamar was off, so he was rusty. But I just want to see my team compete against teams at their full strength. Because if the Bears do win, I want that to be, hey, the Bears went out there and they put in work and they got some shit done. So, it is what it is. The Ravens have had a difficult start to their season, and so there's what it goes down to. And there's no overstating how big of a loss Lamar Jackson is for the Baltimore Ravens. It completely changed everything. If he is not able to play, that means Cooper Rush or Tyler Huntley is going to be the starting quarterback for there. That's a bit of a difference there, right? So you have those things that you got to look out for in this game. But overall, you can only play who's in front of you. It's not in your control. There's nothing you can do about it. If Lamar sits, Lamar sits. And the Bears still got to go out there and play against the Ravens and still treat it like a game that is important, because guess what? It is. Every bit of ground that we can keep up in that NFC North is important. And so you need every win. And so, while I want my team to face off against the best, I want my team to face off against other teams that are fully healthy. That is what I want for this team. Yeah, if he doesn't play, he doesn't play. Fuck it. Still go out there and kill it. Like, you still got to go out there and try to dominate. You still got to go out there and snuff out that offense. You still got to go out there and try to absolutely make that day living hell for the Baltimore Ravens. And that's what I want to see my defense do. Get those takeaways. Follow up on last week with 4 sacks. Get that. Get some stops in the run game. Suffocate the Baltimore Ravens. Whether Lamar's out there or not, I want to see complete and utter suffocation. That's what I want to see. Asphyxiation. That's what I want to see from the Baltimore Ravens. Kill those birds, right? That's what I want to see. So we'll see if the Bears can end up doing that. If they do, it's going to be fun to watch, to talk about, to monitor, and we'll see if they can get it done. But with that said, I do want to talk about some keys for the Chicago Bears coming into this game against the Ravens. And one of the first ones that Ben Johnson has talked about, the Bears have talked about, everybody's talked about, right? You got to clean up the penalties. You got to get the penalties together. If you don't get those penalties, they are such drive and momentum killers, and you don't want that. If you look at last week against the Saints, the Chicago Bears had 10 penalties for 92 yards. In week 6 against the Commanders, we had 9 for 84 yards, right? So unfortunately, the Bears still haven't cleaned that up. And, the hope was that coming out of the bye week, a lot of that would be cleaned up for the Chicago Bears, and we'd just be operating as a more well-oiled machine and getting it done. That has not happened yet, right? So now we got to see if the Bears can start getting that, because that's something that Ben Johnson has been preaching about and needing this team to get together literally since before the season started. So the fact that it's still a thing up until now, you can't keep having self-inflicted wounds. When you go to battle, you can't keep shooting yourself in the foot or the leg and then expect to win the war, right? So eventually that's going to catch up with something. And for the Bears to reach their true potential of what we can be as an offense, the pre-snap penalties have to stop, and the other things that we've already talked about with the run game and stuff like that. So the first thing, and I think the biggest thing for the Bears, you got to get those penalties underway. If you can't get those penalties underway, it's going to be a big knock for you. Next, I would say this as well. You have to score in the red zone. Here's the thing. Take advantage of the takeaways that the defense gets. We do not score enough for my liking with the level of takeaways. The Bears defense leads the league in takeaways. That right there should be easier points for the Chicago Bears. I need the Bears to score on at least 80% of drives that start after the defense gets a takeaway. And again, I'm saying score, field goal, or touchdown. I'm not saying they necessarily always have to score a touchdown, but we need to score in those situations because the defense is giving you another opportunity. The defense has took some momentum. It's a double whammy of momentum when your defense gets a takeaway and then you turn around and put up points off that takeaway. That's something I need to see this Bears team clean up on as we go into the rest of the season, especially because the defense is like they're practicing for takeaways. This is a legitimate part of the Chicago Bears defense is getting those takeaways. Play off of that and then get that score the ball with score points when you get that. And if you do that consistently, some things are gonna happen for you. So let's hope that that's going to be a thing. The Bears are scoring decently well overall, right? But I think just refining those opportunities and abilities, if you get that, that's going to be a big thing for you. Next up, I'm going to talk about the running game. Use the double-headed rushing attack. Ben Johnson did that in Detroit, and I don't understand why it took 6 games into the season for us to see a game where Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift both had over 10 carries. Like I don't understand why it was the first time that we've seen that this season. Use that double-headed rushing attack. If it doesn't work, cool, you can go to something different, right? DeAndre Swift is in the middle of one of his best stretches as a Chicago Bear, period. He's under one of the best stretches that he's had. Kyle Monangai's coming off his best game as an NFL player. Keep using that and find that ground game, find that production. I will give Ben Johnson credit. He called the plays, and it opened, and you could tell there was more intentionality between how he called plays for Monangai, how he called plays for DeAndre Swift, how he brought Roschon Johnson in for the one carry that Roschon Johnson had. There's a clear level of intention to do that. Keep doing that. Keep doubling down on that, because if you can find something with this double-headed rushing attack and it could be something that you can legitimately start betting off of and building off of, that's going to open your offense completely. That is what that's going to do. So again, double down on this two-headed rushing attack. Find that. And then I'll say this. I talked about a couple episodes ago, I said keys to unlocking the Bears offense. And I think the keys to unlocking the Bears offense a lot is your rookies. Trust your rookies. Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, Kyle Monangai. Trust those rookies. I'm not saying that Luther Burden needs to be getting more targets than DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, but he deserves more than what he's gotten. Colston Loveland may be the best route runner that we have on this team overall. Get him more involved in the game. And Kyle Monangai, which I just talked about with the running game, trust your rookies. You got them here for a reason. There was something that they showed, whether in the combine or through what they did in college, that you brought them here to this team. Double down on that. Trust those guys. Give those guys opportunities to sink or swim. Pressure either bust pipes or makes diamonds. I think we have some potential diamonds on this team, but give them the opportunity. I understand starting off the season, you want to slowly incorporate them. You don't want to throw a lot on a rookie that's still learning the playbook, the NFL speed, all that type of stuff. We're almost halfway through the season. It's time to start trusting these guys. Double down on your rookies, because if those rookies do ascend, that's going to be the thing. We know who DJ Moore is, right? Rome Odunze has been one of the best wideouts in the game of football this season. He's still establishing himself too. I want to be clear there. Oz, we know who Olamide Zacchaeus is, right? If you can start getting that rhythm with your rookies and you can start finding them, and then by the end of the season, we're talking about by week 14, 15, 16, these guys have now gone through those trenches. That's going to be added weapons that you can trust. And that's what this is all about, is finding players that you can trust what they're going to do. And you can't do that if you don't give them the opportunity. And if they don't do anything with the opportunity, cool. But at least then you can say that you know. Take advantage of that. We have some potential mismatches here that we just haven't really exploited. And I get it. We haven't had a run game. There's been reasons to it. I'm not blaming Ben Johnson for it. I understand that there are reasons for it. But I think now this is the time. This is the momentum that you want to get into. This is the spot in the season where, because DJ Moore's banged up, because DeAndre Swift's banged up, double down on your rookies. Trust those guys. Give those guys continued opportunity to show and prove what they can be at the NFL level, because you drafted them for a reason. And then lastly, for the offense, I'm just looking at Caleb Williams. Caleb has to, like, you sold for a lot of last game, right? I want to see you come out and have a great game against the Ravens. That's what I want to see you do. Of course, limit the overthrows, the missed opportunities. Of course, that's all great. But outside of that, I just want to see a game in which Caleb once again commands that huddle. We've seen that before from him, right? I don't want it to come down to a fourth quarter drive. Caleb needs to be better. Caleb wants to be better. Ben Johnson believes in him to be better. Go out there and be better this game against the Ravens. You're not facing off against a defense that's crazy. Yeah, they got some they got some people on that team that you don't want to overlook, right? And that could be dangerous and can cause you some fits. But I think overall, like, if you just prepare for that, and Caleb can do it, like, Caleb has the right mentality to do that, that's where you can start getting some better performances, and that's where this Bears offense can really take off at. So let me know what you guys think on that down below. One last topic before we get out of here today. This one comes from Bears Wire that asks, should the Bears prioritize an extension for Kevin Byard? Now, Kevin Byard is somebody who himself said he realizes that at this point in his career, everything's going to be year to year for him. But Kevin Byard has been amazing for the Chicago Bears. And when you look at this team that leads the league in takeaways, Kevin Byard has been at the forefront of that. I think he has 4 interceptions on the year, 5 pass breakups, 2 tackles for a loss. Kevin Byard has been playing at an all-pro, Pro Bowl level, even at this age. And I don't think he's going to try to hit you over the head for a big money extension. I think the Chicago Bears, and I agree with Bears Wire here, get an extension done for Kevin Byard. Solidify that. Even if you do end up drafting a safety, whether they're to replace Jaquan Brisker, be a long-term kind of safety mate for Jaquan Brisker, and Kevin Byard's coming off the bench, I tell you what, I trust that, right? And even if you do draft when it gives you some time to that, you need to throw that guy to the wolves. The Bears should be looking to extend Kevin Byard. I think they should be looking to extend Jaquan Brisker as well, as he stayed pretty much healthy and has performed pretty well. These safeties are important for this Bears team, and I think they've been a really good backbone for Dennis Allen and this defense, and we'll see if they continue to be that. But that's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following us at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.